everyone. I'm really excited this month because for whatever reason, I ended up reading 3 books that were part of March book clubs. So I figured I might as well talk about them, and they were all good. So that usually doesn't happen. So I'm actually really excited. But I like to usually start my videos by talking about what I'm currently reading. And I am halfway through the Berlin Letters by Catherine Ray. And this is a Cold War historical fiction book. It has all the good stuff. It has espionage, code breaking, family, sacrifice, betrayal, um, all the action as well as the historical fiction that you would want in these types of books. So I'm really liking it so far. And this is a dual POV with time periods. It switches back and forth. And yeah, I've been enjoying it so far. So that's what I'm currently reading. And the publisher on this one is Harper Muse. All right, so to the March book clubs. So the first one I want to talk about is The Great Divide by Cristina Henriquez. And this one, I believe, is the Read with Jenna book club pick. And this one is super cool. I think I would go with historical fiction, fiction as the genre, and the publisher on this one is Eco. So for this one, what's really interesting about it is it follows several characters, and it's set against the backdrop of the construction of the Panama Canal. And, I don't have any knowledge of that. So it was really interesting kind of hearing or, spending time with characters during that construction and seeing how it influenced their lives. So we follow several characters. We follow Francisco, he's a local fisherman, and his son Omar. And, both father and son are having arguments about this canal because Francisco kind of wants to pass his trade over to his son, but feels betrayed when Omar goes and joins the construction crews working on the canal. So there's some tension there, and we kind of understand backstory and history as to why. We also follow Ada. So Ada is a 16-year-old from Barbados. She comes to Panama for, similar to Omar, to look for work because she wants to get enough money to fund her sister's surgery. And what I really liked about Ada is not only learning about her, but also her mother and kind of how their family ended up in the situation that they're in. And so that was really interesting to see kind of what happened to her and her mother. And we also follow a couple, so John and Marion. John is coming to Panama because he has a primary goal of curing malaria, but his wife Marion gets sick. And so we follow these 3 sets of characters and how their lives intertwine, and they do. But all of this is happening while the Panama Canal is being constructed. And what's really special is we get kind of an inside view into the attitudes of the people at the time, because there is a group of folks concerned that the construction of this canal is going to erase the culture and the towns in its wake. And we kind of see how that happens or why that happens. And I just thought it was very insightful. I think the only thing that I heard in the mixed reviews were it doesn't really have a central plot. So there's not like an overarching plot, which for this, it kind of works because it's more character driven. We get a lot of backstory for each of the characters and how they ended up in Panama. So that kind of helps build each of the characters. But I think that's a fair point. It doesn't have an overarching plot, but it's still, if you like character driven novels, this is definitely it. So, okay, that's this book. So the next one we have is a different tone. So this is Listen for the Lie by Amy Tintera. And this one, the publisher is Celadon Books, and the genre would be mystery thriller. So I've noticed, maybe it's just me, but there's been an uptick of books that, especially like mystery thrillers that have a podcast, like true crime podcast trope, where, you know, there's a podcast that's trying to resolve one of those, you know, unsolved murders or unsolved crimes. And it's a kind of a rehash of that history. I think I've read like maybe 3 or 4 in the past like year, maybe. So this one does do that, but I will say I thought it was different. What I liked about it is it was a little bit funny. There was definitely a sense of humor, and I appreciated that, so it wasn't all scary and ominous the whole time. And I also like the way it was written. So for mysteries and thrillers, I really like when the author is writing fast-paced as well as short chapters. So the chapters here alternate between 2 POVs. We get Lucy and Ben. Lucy is our main character, who's accused of a crime. She's accused of murdering her best friend. And Ben is the podcast host who comes into town to kind of solve this murder. And what I like about it is the chapters alternate for those 2 POVs, but for Ben's POV, you know, for Lucy, it's just a standard, obviously a standard chapter. But for Ben's POV, what's nice is it's actually like a podcast. So what it is interview style. So you can see like there's whoever he's interviewing, and it's like a Q&A. It's Q&A style, and I really like that because I found myself reading Lucy's POV, but I was also extra excited because I really liked to read Ben's podcast. So see who he's talking to next. And I think the way the author inserted those, I guess the people of interest. So something would happen in Lucy's POV, and then the next chapter would be Ben interviewing that person. So I think each chapter was placed really well. So that's this book. So definitely mystery thriller. All right, and did I say which? I think I didn't mention it. This is the GMA book club pick, and yeah, this was their March pick, and I'm pretty sure it's GMA. Okay, so the final one is, and I will say this author had a book last year, maybe year before, Olga Dies Dreaming, and it was super popular, had excellent reviews. So this is not, you know, this is, I think everyone was waiting for the follow-up, or for the next book by this author. So this is Anita de Monte Laughs Last by Xochitl Gonzalez, and this one, I would say the genre is fiction / or maybe historical fiction / magical realism. There are some elements in there, and I think some readers were surprised. So I want to kind of clarify that, and it doesn't really spoil anything. And the publisher on this is Flatiron Books. This book was selected as part of Reese Witherspoon's book club. And I really like this one. This one is very different. It is 3 points of view, 3 POVs of Raquel, who's a student. She's an art history student doing her thesis. And Jack and Anita, they are an artist couple. And Jack is very, you know, well known. He's the subject of Raquel's thesis. And Anita, who's a less known artist, but just as talented. And, you know, it kind of talks about what I like about this book is there's a good buildup. So it starts talking about Anita and Jack, their relationship, art, how their art and ambition really tested and frayed their relationship. And it also shows us that both Anita and Jack are very flawed, very unlikable characters. They both have issues. It's a very messy relationship. But their fixation was on art and being remembered and their legacy. But what I liked about this book is it really put a lens on the differences between Jack and Anita that really weren't related to their talent. You know, there's commentary on socioeconomic status, background, race, class, ethnicity. So it's kind of, it shows how Anita struggled to make herself known in the art world. And it kind of alludes to what Raquel ends up dealing with, because kind of the story is set up in a way where Raquel is mirroring Anita, as well as Raquel's boyfriend Nick can be comparable or compared to Jack. So we're seeing, insightful commentary about the art industry and the struggles that women of color may face in their different spaces, in their different industries and at work. But it's also a story where you're interested to see, are Raquel and Nick going to end up very similar, or is it going to be the same situation that Anita and Jack found themselves in? I'm trying not to spoil it. So, and I will say the author, trying to keep it spoiler free, but the author was really creative in how we still got a POV even after certain events occurred. I thought that was very interesting and creative way of doing it. So yeah, I really enjoyed this one. I have not read Olga Dies Dreaming, and I think I need to, so that's going to be added to my list. But yeah, so these are the three books for the March book club. And if you read them, let me know. And also, this is what I'm currently reading. And so yeah, thanks.